Hey guys, Marsegan here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so obviously earlier today we did not get any news on the LR that we were expecting. What with the dates of sales ending on global, login bonuses and stuff ending for the crossover celebration, we were expecting some news earlier rather than later, because essentially anything new that's going to be dropping in the game should be dropping in the next couple of days, right? So we were hoping to see an update today. I feel like that means without it dropping today, we will be seeing it tomorrow morning. So make sure you guys keep an eye out for that. Drop by the early stream. I'm always live about an hour before news drops on JP. So if it does drop, because obviously with this being the same time, they usually time all of these info releases for JP time. That's how they did the reveals of like the 21 details and animations and everything. So check out the early stream tomorrow morning, and yeah, we should see the information as it comes out. So one thing I wanted to talk about is I've seen a few people talking about speculation on the LR, because a lot of people have just kind of, as we talked about in the video yesterday, people seem to be, there's a general consensus, right, that this is going to be the Super Saiyan trio from the Android 13 movie, because it definitely fits the hint that they posted, right? I'm sure you've all seen it on Twitter by now. I showed it in the video I put out yesterday, so if you didn't watch that, go check it out. But basically, it was a yellow background with a blue, orange, and then purple, like rectangles in them, and that's it, right? Like just a little cryptic hint. And most people deduced, you know, this is the yellow, you know, the yellow background is the Super Saiyan Energy Aura, and then the blue is Vegeta, the orange is Goku, and the purple is Trunks. But I've had a couple of people say, you know, even if it is specifically Vegeta, Goku, and Trunks, it isn't necessarily going to be, you know, the guys from the Android 13 movie. I did actually see someone, I think Minato even posted it as like a joke, is what if it is just because of the 21 release coming out first, it is actually just a Fighters crossover LR, and it's as if, you know, if you were running the team of Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks in Fighters. Because we talked about on a previous podcast episode, it would be kind of cool to have a Fighters LR where their super attack is essentially the Fighters super attack, where your whole team comes in and does their assist supers and stuff as well. So it'd be kind of cool, but it's not necessarily what I'm expecting to see. But that got me thinking about some other ideas as to what the hint could actually be if it's not specifically the Android 13 Super Saiyan trio. And so shout out to JV over on Twitter who tagged me in this post. I think this went up, was it earlier this morning? Yeah, it was this morning. It was a couple of hours before we expected to see the reveal. And I did actually see this in the comments on the global post for the hint. But he said someone posted this in the global hint thread. I'm not sure if it's legit. This is from like a V-jump, so the picture is legit, right? Super Saiyan, if the Part 2 LR isn't Super Saiyan Trio, then a Dragon Ball Heroes Super Saiyan 3 Trio with the tech Super Saiyan 3 EZA would be hype. So this is the V-jump spread here of the cards. So you can see this art, even though it's from Heroes, this is obviously the Super Saiyan 3 Goku from the Dragon Fist from the end of Wrath of the Dragon. It is the LR art for the Tech LR Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and then underneath it shows a couple of Heroes cards. There's a Super Saiyan 3 Trunks, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, and then obviously there is a trio card of the three of them together as Super Saiyan 3s. Now this would be awesome. I obviously would absolutely love to see this. I brought up a slightly bigger version of the image here. I think this is, yeah, there you go, so we can see it a little bit better. So you got Super Saiyan 3 Trunks, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, the trio card of them together. Now personally, I think this would be awesome, right? I've always been a huge fan of the Super Saiyan 3 category. It's been a while since we've had some buffs. I mean, we got Super Saiyan 3 Rose, who, whilst technically is a Super Saiyan 3 unit himself, isn't really super good on a Super Saiyan 3 team. He doesn't have limit breaking form, he doesn't have over in a flash. So getting some new Super Saiyan 3 buffs would be pretty awesome. It's a category that has gone long, you know, neglected in my opinion. So if we jump over to the wiki here, we got LR Super Saiyan 3 Goku is of course a unit that people are very much waiting to get an EZA. So a new LR coming out that is part of the Super Saiyan 3 category, it would be a perfect opportunity to give this guy an EZA. They would obviously work together super well, especially if the new LR is a slot 1 unit, because this guy, you know, whilst his EZA is kind of a blank slate, right, he literally just gets defense at start of turn, and then gets attack and loses defense on super. So he's not going to be a slot 1 unit post EZA, I don't think, right? Now it's interesting because he loses defense on super. We talked about this yesterday with the physical Trunks, who's the side banner unit for Android 13. I guess technically with his EZA, they could give him a ton of defense and damage reduction before he attacks. So then he could be a unit that can go in slot 1 to like get hit before he attacks. Then he does the Dragon Fist, does big damage, but then loses some of his defense. It's kind of like the Beerus EZA as well, right? Where he's super good defensively before he attacks, but then after he attacks, he could potentially be a bit of a liability. Obviously, we'd hope that they sort of counterbalance that, like give him a big buff in slot 1. So if he's getting hit before he attacks, he's basically, you know, almost invincible. But then after he attacks, he still has some defensive capability, right? Like he keeps some damage reduction. Maybe he raises defense on super, but then he's just losing some of his raw defense. So he's still going to be able to at least like tank normals, right? And then I think he would be in kind of a good spot. He was the hardest hitting unit in the game when he first came out. So I'm really hoping that we can see, you know, when he's actually doing the Dragon Fist, we're getting like 20 million plus attack stats or something. That would be awesome, because it'd be really nice. EZAs are obviously supposed to make a unit, at least at the bare minimum, like relevant in the meta again. But with this guy, if his EZA made him like the hardest hitting unit in the game again, that would be super awesome. I'd love to see that. But when we look at the Super Saiyan 3 category, like, we have not gotten buffs in a long time, right? Like the leaders, Rosé is a new leader. He does give the 200% to a few of the characters on here, because, well, I say a few, it's all the crossover ones. So heroes, and then some of the other random, like, you know, Vegeta, Bardock, Broly. Bardock's super old now, even with his EZA. We're still waiting on the Int Angel Goku to get an EZA. And then when you take a look at the category, I mean, honestly, it's very small, because obviously you take away the heroes characters. You know, only Goku and Gotenks ever went Super Saiyan 3 in the actual show. So if you remove all the crossover characters, it's a very, very small category. So it would be something that I would love to see get buffed. Super Saiyan 3 is one of my favourite forms in Dragon Ball anyway. So I would definitely love to see this category get some buffs. And, you know, it'd be quite nice to have new versions of the Super Saiyan, even though they'd be a trio card. Because if we take a look, like, this is the oldest, the newest Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, and he came out in 2021. Well, that was his awakening anyway. So this guy's in desperate need of an EZA, which if they are going to drop Super Saiyan 3 Trio LR and give a big buff... Imagine, because they're a Carnival LR, right? So imagine their leader skill is Super Saiyan 3 200%. Now, the category on its own would still be in kind of a bad spot, right? Even with some of the heroes units and things like that. So if they were going to drop a Super Saiyan 3 200% lead Carnival LR, they need to also drop buffs for the category. So the LR Super Saiyan 3 Goku obviously is a top choice. But then you have this guy. There's also the GT one, right? The Tech GT Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta that could use an EZA as well. But this is the newest Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Then, of course, we have this guy who can still kind of manage in some of these events because he has 80% damage reduction for 10 turns. So he's still able to tank, like, okay. So if he got a 200% lead, there are some events where you could actually, unironically, still use him as a slot 1 unit. He's not doing a lot of damage, but, you know, he's there to be a tank. And then, of course, when it comes to Trunks, the only Super Saiyan 3 Trunks is the AGL one, who is a Heroes card. And, you know, he EZA'd in 2021, so he's already pretty outdated now. He's a chance to guard character that even if he gets his guard against some of these big bosses is still taking a lot of damage. Now, the big question, and I think unfortunately like the #1 concern is like, how likely is it that we would get this card? Because when it comes to Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, we got a Dokkan Fest of Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, which in and of itself is already kind of crazy. But Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, he's on crossover, but he's not a Heroes character, right? He's not on Heroes. Him and Broly, I believe, were first made their appearance in Raging Blast or Raging Blast 2. So they are considered a character originally from another game, which is why they're on crossover in Dokkan, but they're not part of the Heroes IP. But when it comes to Heroes, we basically only ever get Heroes stuff during the Heroes celebration, which of course has ended now. So the biggest problem with this theory for a character is that I think Super Saiyan 3 Trunks is only considered a Heroes character. Now, technically, there is the Xeno Trunks. Obviously, we have Super Saiyan Xeno Trunks, we have the base Xeno Trunks, we have the Super Strike base Xeno Trunks. They're all considered Xenoverse characters, so they are crossover but not heroes, so technically they can come out at any time. So I guess in theory they could make the card Xeno Super Saiyan 3 Trunks and it would get around the licensing thing, but then it just becomes a sort of like, why are they making it that card in the first place then if they're changing out Trunks for Xeno Trunks? Because if they're just straight up making a card of this, then obviously they're doing it because it's based on like the heroes thing, right? Which is why, unfortunately, I do think it is rather unlikely. But I mean, out of all the options that are available, personally for me as a fan of Super Saiyan 3, as a fan of crossover and all that stuff in general, like I would take this over the Super Saiyan trio from the Android 13 team. I might be the only one, right? But we talked about yesterday what sort of categories these guys would be on with the Super Saiyan trio, and you know, Super Saiyans is obviously there, join forces, they won't be on Pure Saiyans. We talked about potential of like powerful comeback, all-out struggle. These guys are obviously going to be on things like Power Beyond Super Saiyan, potentially Mastered Evolution. There's a lot of categories that Super Saiyan 3 characters are on. If we jump back over to the wiki, we can just look at Goku, I suppose. Final trump card, maybe. I mean, the heroes card is obviously not based on a specific situation in like a movie or an episode, so I'm not sure if they would give them final trump card. They could give them full power, because obviously Trunks and Vegeta, we don't really ever see them as a Super Saiyan 3, but it would make sense for them to be on full power, I suppose. Mastered Evolution, Power Beyond Super Saiyan, Accelerated Battle is what we talked about with the Super Saiyan trio as well. Bond of parent and child is definitely a possibility, because as we know, Vegeta's after a certain point in the story get bond of parent and child. But obviously if it's going to be Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, we're talking like post, well, obviously they're non-canon, so it doesn't really matter, but we'd obviously be talking post-Buu Saga. So Vegeta's at that point are on bond of parent and child. So technically the trio LR would be on bond of parent and child, obviously join forces. I feel like it would be a very cool selection of categories and units, right? And if Goku does a Kamehameha, they could be on Kamehameha as well. We've seen join forces units with non-Goku partners being on that category as long as Goku does a Kamehameha. So I think this unit would be super, super awesome as an LR to drop in the game. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Would you like to see this as a unit? If you had to choose between the two, would you choose this over the Super Saiyan trio from the Android 13 movie? Obviously, this would mean we get no AGL Android 13 EZA, but I mean, if we were going to get Super Saiyan 3 Goku's EZA, the LR, as well as like the Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta's, I think I would take that, right? I mean, just imagine all the LR, all the Super Saiyan 3 characters that don't have an EZA. Imagine if they just made, and I feel like this is probably asking too much, but imagine if they just made this Christmas part of the celebration buffing all the Super Saiyan 3s that still need buffs. Because the only connection to what we've gotten recently is obviously getting Super Saiyan 3 Rose. But like, we've got the, I think this AGL Goku and the STR GT Vegeta don't have EZAs. We talked about the physical and tech Vegeta, the Super Saiyan 3 Broly, the free-to-play one, could be a free-to-play unit EZA. There's a whole bunch of Super Saiyan 3 units that could get some interesting upgrades. I think this guy, he doesn't have an EZA, right? Like the OG Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku that most people, if you're a really old player like me, one of the first units you like farmed up and awakened. And yeah, he doesn't have an EZA either. So imagine they just made this last part of the year celebration a massive buff to the Super Saiyan 3 category. I think that would be awesome. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. Like I said, would you like to see this unit as an LR? Would you take them over the trio from the 13 movie? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.